Royalty has been around for centuries, but it's certainly not been just all bows, curtsies, inbreeding, and crown jewels along the way. According to National Geographic, the hierarchical hereditary concept dates back to 660 BC, when legend has it that Jimmu, the first emperor of Japan, started his imperial house, which is believed to be the earliest form of monarchy, as we know it today. Over the years, more and more royal dynasties began springing up worldwide, and things started to take a decidedly dark turn. There were wars, mass murders and genocides, backstabbing, and intrigue. Families duked it out between themselves for the right to sit on the throne, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of commoners in their thirst for royal power. There were beheadings, religious crusades, hung-drawn-and-quarterings, and naysayers were burned alive. Those in roles of absolute power were anointed by God himself and duty-bound to carry out his orders, which strangely always seemed to fit their own agendas, and people couldn't vote them out. These days, royalty has, thankfully, become more symbolic than tyrannical, thanks to some good old bloody revolutions. But that doesn't mean there's any less of a sense of entitlement and privilege among nobles for our purposes. That's still very alive and definitely kicking. To pet thy caps po our commoners, sitteth theselves down and raiseth a tankard or two, as we take a look at the most arrogant royal family members. Hello and welcome to Royal Scandal. Please do well to like, subscribe, comment and turn on the notification bell so as not to miss out on any news updates. Number 1. The Queen Mother. The Queen Mother's death in 2002 was marked by 10 days of mourning, and a never-ending stream of Dame Vera Lynn and World War II songs. Per The Guardian, it also proved a turning point for the royal family, sparking public unwillingness to tolerate their wealth and privilege. Many commoners were starting to revolt, in a polite, British way, as UK citizens, who were struggling through a recession, were fed up with funding the opulence and luxury the royals reveled in. The Daily Mail reports that the Queen Mother's life was filled with grandeur and splendor. She owned 5 residences and employed over 100 staff. Elizabeth had a dozen racehorses, a cellar of rare, expensive wine, and wardrobes of designer duds. She hosted lavish dinner parties, ringing her Faberge pearl bell to summon her servants. Wealthy and influential guests feasted on lobster and quaffed 300-pound bottles of vintage Krug champagne. The so-called Empress of Extravagance left debts of over £7 million when she died, but who cares when you're the Queen Mother? According to William Shawcross, the Queen Mother, the official biography, via The Guardian, Elizabeth reportedly treated commoners contemptuously, with an alleged sense of entitlement and arrogance that made her dismissive and cruel, condescending, and racist. For example, the Queen Mother's 2 nieces were hidden away in an institution for life because they were born with learning difficulties, and she apparently never visited them once. In fact, they were seemingly treated like a dirty little secret. When news of their existence broke, Elizabeth made sure everybody knew their genes weren't from her lineage. Number 2. Princess Margaret. When Princess Margaret's sister was crowned Queen Elizabeth II, she had to settle for the lowly title of Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret, the Countess of Snowdon. As any fans of the crown already know, Margaret believed she should have been queen rather than her boring sibling. But she was born second, so Elizabeth took the throne after George VI's unexpected death at age 56 in 1952. Poor Margaret made the best of a bad lot, though. She threw her heart and soul into being a countess. By the 1970s, she was blowing through her annual $103,000 taxpayer-funded expense allowance via the Washington Post, which, according to Inflation Tool, is around $432,092 in today's money as quickly as humanly possible. Margaret was renowned for her jet-setting, card partying, and freeloading, not to mention her lavish cash-splashing and scandalous, free-loving lifestyle. She became a tabloid fixture, leading to political grumbling about her being an expensive-kept woman. The princess was renowned for her alleged sense of entitlement and privilege, too supposedly dismissive and rude to those she deemed beneath HRH, unless they were young, hot, and male, apparently. Reportedly treating her servants with contempt and having endless over-the-top demands, Margaret supposedly also treated lesser royals and celebrities disrespectfully and with disdain. I have been at the same house parties as her, and her arrogance, her petulance, her rudeness, and her plain bad manners were awful, an acquaintance claimed to Princess Margaret, a biography, author Theo Aronson, via biography. Number 3. Prince Andrew. It might not be all that shocking to see Prince Andrew pop up on the most arrogant royal family members list. The Duke of York's alleged sense of entitlement dates back decades and seemingly knows no bounds. Per the Daily Mail, Andrew is the Queen's favorite offspring, so it's no surprise he was reportedly unbearably arrogant even as a child, regularly spotted taunting the guardsmen on duty and aiming sly kicks at the dogs. Vanity Fair claimed Andrew's dissolute private life and dodgy friends had caused a major PR problem. They listed some of Andrew's many scandals, including his relationships and deals with shady billionaire businessmen like the convicted Libyan gun smuggler who gave him a $30,000 gold necklace, and how he was nicknamed Air Miles Andy after flying 50 miles by helicopter for a lunch with Arab dignitaries, costing taxpayers $5,000. Not to mention his secret rendezvous with Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi, and his Egyptian dinner with the corrupt president of Kazakhstan, resulting in Nazarbayev's son-in-law paying $4.9 million more than the asking price to buy Andrew's Ascot mansion. Then there's his close ties with late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew has repeatedly denied Virginia Giuffre's allegations of sexual misconduct and claimed in his trainwreck BBC interview that he would cooperate with any appropriate law enforcement agency. However, he's reportedly resisted all efforts to force him to comply. As the Sunday Post noted in 2021, he is an arrogant man, used to getting his own way without having to explain himself. He is an immovable object. However, in Giuffre and her legal team, he may well have met an irresistible force. Number 4. Prince Philip. Prince Philip was the epitome of privilege and alleged arrogance, wealthy, elitist, and renowned for his problematic gags. For example, per Mashable, during a visit to a Bangladeshi youth club, Philip once asked, "So who's on drugs here?" before pointing to a teenage boy and saying, "He looks as if he's on drugs." He also told the Nigerian president his traditional robes made him look ready for bed. Philip asked a Kenyan lady who gave him a gift, "You are a woman, aren't you?" "Oh," and he once remarked, "I don't think a prostitute is more moral than a wife, but they are doing the same thing." But it was Philip's 2019 car crash that many felt really displayed his arrogance. The 97-year-old pulled out of a road, causing a car carrying 2 adults and a baby to smash into him. Philip escaped without injury. However, the other car's passenger suffered a broken wrist and was written off work for 2 months. The Duke of Edinburgh didn't apologize and was seen the next day driving a brand new Land Rover without wearing a seatbelt, no less. The accident and his subsequent behavior led to Piers Morgan going on a rampage, branding Philip the rudest human ever. But hey, Piers Morgan, it's time the Queen gave her rude, stubborn, insensitive, arrogant and dangerous Duke of Hazzard his driving marching orders, Morgan raged in the Daily Mail. Meanwhile, the Mirror wrote, Prince Philip needs to stop behaving like an arrogant, self-regarding fool. Number 5. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Prince Harry went from winning the public's hearts as the sad little boy forced to walk behind his mother's coffin to becoming the second least popular royal by 2021. According to a YouGov poll, Harry ties as second with Meghan Markle, behind drumroll Prince Andrew. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have a rating of 21% among baby boomers, while 7% still manage to deem the Duke of York popular. Perhaps they haven't renewed their BBC TV license in a couple of years. Harry and Meghan were branded arrogant for expecting the public to pay for their post-Mexit security. I've seen some disgraceful royal antics in my time, but for pure arrogance, entitlement, greed, and willful disrespect, nothing has ever quite matched the behavior of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Piers Morgan, who's been known to criticize Markle in particular, raged in the Daily Mail. Their popularity dropped further following their Oprah Winfrey interview, which led to Morgan ripping the couple for their supposedly staggering degree of narcissism in another furious Daily Mail rant. Harry and Meghan also came under fire for a statement on their Archewell Foundation website. They said the August 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan, where Harry served 2 frontline tours, left them speechless and feeling many layers of pain, and announced they were working to support vaccine equity to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Royal biographer Angela Levin told the U.S. Sun, "It's so grandiose and patronizing," and accused the couple of posturing. Number 6. The Duchess of York Sarah Ferguson. Sarah Ferguson was hounded by the press from the moment it was revealed she'd snared Randy Andy. Fergie, as she was nicknamed, was constantly criticized over her fluctuating weight, leading to tabloids calling her the Duchess of Pork. She later admitted on the Gemma and Emma podcast, via the Mirror, that the cruel jibes were soul-destroying. However, Ferguson did little to ingratiate herself with the public or the royals. According to Express, she reportedly encountered Queen Elizabeth II's wrath before even marrying Prince Andrew. HRH was horrified by Ferguson's vulgar bachelorette night antics, which apparently included laying on the floor with bottles of champagne being fired in every direction. Things went further downhill from there on. There were topless photos of Ferguson having her toes sucked by a millionaire on a yacht. She used her royal status and connections to land a $3 million Weight Watchers spokesperson contract. Fergie made an Ox-Doc reality show. And, despite not being invited to Prince William and Kate Middleton's wedding, she wormed herself in anyway, giving a TV interview on the big day while dispensing marital advice to the couple. Oh, Fergie. Worst of all, though, was when she was caught in a tabloid sting, per The Guardian. Ferguson was secretly filmed negotiating to sell ex-husband Prince Andrew's endorsement in return for £500,000. And, according to the Daily Mail, she was reportedly the driving force behind Andrew agreeing to his infamous BBC Trainwreck interview. Not surprisingly, she's been accused of being arrogant and rude. Number 7. King Edward VIII. King Edward VIII infamously renounced the throne in 1936 to marry Usborne, two-time divorcee Wallis Simpson. His abdication forced his shy, unprepared, and unwilling younger brother, George, to become king. George VI's wife, Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, later known as the Queen Mother, was reportedly furious at Edward for thrusting the crown onto her beloved Bertie, but she fully blamed Ed Simpson for ruining their lives. As if abdicating wasn't enough of a scandal in itself, Edward was involved in numerous others over the years. Philip Ziegler's book King Edward VIII, a biography, claimed that the Duke of Windsor was monumentally indiscreet, politically shallow, and surprisingly avaricious. He was also apparently blatantly arrogant, racist, classist, and a Nazi sympathizer and supporter. But it was the jet-setting, money-grabbing, and glamorous life he lived post-abdication that displayed his alleged arrogance at its best. Per the Daily Mail, the diaries of King George VI's private secretary were released in 2006. The King's Counselor, Abdication and War. The diaries of Tommy Lascelles painted a damning portrait of Edward VIII. Lascelles wrote that Edward placed money above all else, despite being one of the richest men in Europe, if not the richest. Yet, he and Simpson persistently pled poverty, probably due to the expense of funding their luxurious lifestyle. Lascelles claimed Edward was immature and had no ethics. So isolated was he in the world of his own desires that I do not think he ever felt affection, absolute, objective affection, for any living being, he wrote. Number 8. Prince Charles. When it comes to the most arrogant royal family members, Prince Charles has been accused of being worse than Prince Andrew. You might think that Andrew is delivering an unparalleled masterclass in arrogance, the Daily Beast wrote in 2021. That, however, would be to disregard the performance of his brother Prince Charles. They cited his involvement in an alleged cash for honor scheme, which Charles denied despite awarding a CBE to a shady Saudi billionaire who'd made a sizable donation to his estate. Sally Bedell Smith's biography, Prince Charles: The Passions and Paradoxes of an Improbable Life, portrays HRH as an arrogant tantrum-throwing dilettante, who's incensed when forced to fly first class instead of by private jet and reportedly travels with a white leather toilet seat. Per The Guardian, Charles's lavish lifestyle and demands are allegedly so over the top they would seem extravagant to Louis XIV, and the Queen herself reportedly called them grotesque. At one point, the Prince of Wales allegedly employed a total of 85 staff. 4 valets were tasked with picking up his discarded clothes from the floor, ensuring his outfits are laid out correctly, and helping him get dressed. He's known to change up to 5 times a day, and Charles supposedly even had a servant to squeeze his toothpaste onto his brush, and another who once held the specimen bottle while he gave a urine sample. According to Express, Charles has reportedly also insisted on having his shoelaces ironed daily. Well, in fairness, who hasn't? Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.